Good morning, children. Here we are going to move into the next lesson. That's An Education in Science by Stephen Hawking. Now, this lesson is actually an extract from Stephen Hawking's published essays. In this lesson, he talks about the state of affairs, especially of science. In this lesson, the author says that there are many people who just want to go back to their past because they feel the past was a purer and simpler age. He feels that people should have a basic understanding of science. In this extract, he also talks about the Cold War and also the dangers of the nuclear weapons. He talks about the East-West tensions. Now, there are many countries, say minor countries, small countries, etc., like Iraq, Iran, Pakistan, etc., which have gained mastery over nuclear weapons. He says it is the duty of the public to know about the danger of these nuclear weapons and also to put pressure on their own governments so that there is a decrease in these arms so that and also the government agrees to arms cut. Let's move on over to the lesson. Stephen William Hawking, 1942 to 2018, was an English theoretical physicist, cosmologist, author, and the director of research at the Center for Theoretical Cosmology at the University of Cambridge. He was also the education professor of mathematics. Hawking achieved commercial success with several works of popular science in which he discusses his own theories and cosmology in general. His book, A Brief History of Time, appeared on the British Sunday Times bestseller list for a record-breaking 237 weeks. This is an extract from Stephen Hawking's Black Holes and Baby Universes and Other Essays. So, this lesson is actually an extract from his book, The Black Holes and Baby Universes and Other Essays. Now, we have got some, difficult words that we come across in this lesson. Let's frame sentences with those. Now, privileged. Here, he comes from a very privileged background. Okay, brutish. Here, rough, it means rough. The British general was ruthless in battle and never gave into feelings of pity for his enemies. Ambivalent. Ambivalent, divided. The party's position on nuclear weapons is deeply ambivalent. Harness, to make use of. Turkey plans to harness the waters of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers for big hydroelectric power projects. Receded is moved back. It had stopped raining, but the water had not receded yet. That is, receded or decreased. Okay, so it had stopped raining, but the water had not receded yet. Now, let's move over to the lesson. We'll start here. Whether we like it or not, the world we live in has changed a great deal in the last 100 years. And it is likely to change even more in the next 100 years. Some people would like to stop these changes and go back to what they see as a purer and simpler age. So, whether we like it or not, that is, whether we like it or not, the world we live in has changed a great deal in the last 100 years. So in the last 100 years, a lot of changes have taken place in the world that we live in. A lot of developments have taken place in every field. So whether it is to our liking or not, the world has changed. And it is likely to change even more in the next 100 years. Now, no one can stop these changes, and these changes will continue for even another, even the next 100 years, or even more. Some people would like to stop these changes. Now, there are people who just don't like these changes. For example, see technology. Now, there have been a lot of changes, technological changes, developments have been taking place in various, fields. But there are some people who just don't like these changes. They would like to stop these changes and go back to what they see as a purer and simpler age. They want to go back to those, those ages or those years which they have already experienced, because the years, the coming years, they do not like it. They want to go back to those days that they have spent, because they feel that was purer and simpler. However, as history shows, the past was not that wonderful. So, according to history, the past was not all that wonderful. It was not so bad for privileged minority. So, the rich people, the privileged few who had all the, who used to enjoy, who had everything in life, it was not that bad for them. Though even they had to do without modern medicine. So in those days, in the past, there were medicines. Modern medicine was not discovered. So even they had to do without modern medicine. And childbirth was highly risky for women. So in those days, even childbirth was rather dangerous for women. But for the vast majority of the population, life was nasty, brutish, and short. But for the majority of the people, the population, life was very, very hard, it was rough, and also short. Anyway, even if one wanted to, one could not put the clock back to an earlier age. It isn't possible, is it not? So whatever age, was the past cannot be brought back, is it not? So anyway, even if one wanted to, so even if we wanted to go back to our past life, it is not going to happen. It cannot happen. Knowledge and techniques cannot just be forgotten. So techniques, knowledge cannot be forgotten. Nor can one prevent further advances in future. So whatever advances, whatever developments are going to take place in the future, we just cannot prevent it. Whatever has to happen will happen. One cannot stop inquiring minds from thinking about basic science. So those people who question everything, you know, those people who are always, thinking about science or thinking about, basic science, you cannot stop them from thinking. Whether or not they are paid for it, whether they are paid for it or not, we just cannot stop, those people who inquire, those people who question about from thinking about basic science. The only way to prevent further developments would be a global totalitarian state that suppressed anything new. So, as I said, we cannot prevent, you know, further advances from taking place in the future. So, whatever developments have to take place will take place. But here the author says, if at all we have to prevent any further developments from taking place, there should be a global totalitarian state. That is, a state wherein the people have no power, no freedom, and where they are totally, under the control of the government that suppress anything new. So, any developments which are going to take place, any invention or discovery would be totally suppressed by these totalitarian states. But human initiative and ingenuity is such that even this would not succeed. But the human mind is such that it always learns. Okay? It keeps learning, through hard work, through effort. The human mind is continuously learning new things. And because of the, skill of inventing, the human mind keeps inventing, keeps discovering things. This would not succeed. In other words, developments are sure to take place because of human initiative and ingenuity. All it would do is slow down the rate of change. So, if at all change is going to take place, it will, slow down the rate of change. That is, any suppression or of course it cannot suppress the changes that are going to take place will take place, but it will be at a very slow rate. If we accept that we cannot prevent science and technology from changing our world, we can at least try to ensure that the changes they make are in the right direction. The author here says, if at all we cannot prevent science and technology from changing our world. Science and technology, of course, is going to change our world, is it not? But if at all we are going to accept that cannot prevent science and technology from changing our world, we can at least try to ensure that the changes they make are in the right direction. So, whatever changes are going to take place in the world, let us ensure, let us, make sure that they are in the right direction, in the right way. In a democratic society, this means that the public needs to have a basic understanding of science. Now, in a totalitarian state, this is not going to happen, but in a democratic society, the people need to have a basic understanding of science. That is, they should have some knowledge of science so that it can make informed decisions and not leave them in the hands of experts. So now, in a democratic society, the public should have some basic knowledge of science so that it can make decisions the right way and not leave them in the hands of experts. That is, there are some decisions which they themselves have to make and not leave them and not depend upon the experts. Now, here, let us do a small activity. We are going to take a passage from what we have already done now, okay, and we'll do some questions here. Okay, now here, anyway, even, I'll just get that. Okay, so we are starting from anyway to experts. Okay, so till the last line here. Now, the first question is, what cannot be forgotten? So go back to the first line. Now, can you see here? We started with anyway, even if one wanted to, one could not put the clock back to an earlier age. Knowledge and so techniques cannot be forgotten. So what cannot be forgotten? Knowledge and techniques cannot be forgotten. The second question, what do inquiring minds think about? Can you see here? Inquiring minds from thinking about basic science. So we have the answer here. So inquiring minds think about basic science. Third one, why should the public need to have a basic understanding of science? Okay, now look at this here. In a democratic country, you have this answer here. This means the public needs to have a basic understanding of science so that it can make informed decisions. So your answer is the public needs to have a basic understanding of science so that it can make informed decisions. The next one, what would prevent further developments from taking place? Now, look at this here. You have your answer. The only way to prevent further developments would be a global totalitarian state that suppressed anything new. Okay, children? So, what would prevent further developments from taking place? Your answer is a totalitarian state that suppressed anything new would prevent further developments from taking place. The fifth is, give the antonym of the following words from the passage. Here the word ignorance. Okay, so from the passage we have the word knowledge. B is we have past. The antonym of past is future. Okay, now the next question is sixth one. One cannot stop inquiring minds from thinking about basic science. Write the part of speech of the underlined words. Now the underlined words given here are, look at the underlined words, it is from and basic. Now from what part of speech is it, children? Yes, it is preposition. And second one, basic. What part is it? It is, what part of speech? It is adjective. So children, we have finished the first part of this lesson. We'll do the next part in the next session, children. Thank you.